So in the beginning of Parshas Chayei, we have the Petira, the passing away of Sarimenu, right? And Avram Avinu buries Sarimenu in Maras Machpelah, which is in the city of Hebron, right? And the pasuk says the whole thing that Avram Avinu buys it, and he puts in a lot of effort to buy Maras Machpelah from Ephron Hachiti, right? A person from Chiti named Ephron. And so the pasuk says like this: "V'toma Sarah b'Kiryas Arba hi Hebron." That Sarimenu dies in the city of 4, Kiryas Arba, which is the city of Hebron. In other words, that Hebron has a nickname, which is Kiryat Arba, the city of 4. What does it mean, the city of 4? So there's all different interpretations. Rashi brings down a couple of them. Maybe there are 4 couples buried there: Adam and Chava, Avram and Sarah, Yitzchak and Rivka, Yaakov and Leah. Different interpretations. In the Medrash, there's an interpretation like this: that the reason why Hebron is called Kiryas Arba is because the city of Hebron, once it came into Jewish hands, passed through 4 different people. When the Jewish people first got to Eretz Yisrael, the city of Hebron was given as a portion to Kalev ben Yefuneh. Right? He was one of the spies. He goes to Eretz Yisrael as a spy, and he actually goes to Hebron to daven that Hashem should protect him from falling into the mistake of the spies. So as a reward for that, he was given the city of Hebron. It's his. Before that, it was first given as the portion of Yehuda. So again, Hebron first is given to Yehuda, the tribe of Yehuda. From Yehuda, it's given specifically to Kalev. Kalev then gives it to the Leviim. It's considered one of the 48 cities of the Leviim. And then in Sefer Ezra, by the times of the second Beis HaMikdash, it was given not just from Leviim, but specifically to Kahanim. So those are the 4 hands that it passed, the city of Hebron passed through: Yehuda, to Kalev, to Leviim, to the Kahanim. And that's what's called Kiryas Arba. That's what it says in the Medrash. Okay, so let's investigate this a little bit. The relationship, that what's unique to the city of Hebron in terms of it falling into the hands of Leviim and Kahanim. Okay, so let's explain a little bit. We know that the Leviim have 48 cities in Eretz Yisrael, altogether 48 cities. Now we know that one of the mitzvahs of the Torah is that the tribe of Levy, lo yinchalu b'toich acheim, that this tribe of Levy are not allowed, it's one of the prohibitions, they're not allowed to inherit Eretz Yisrael like any of the other tribes. So they don't have a portion, like a designated portion, but obviously they have to live somewhere. So they live throughout Eretz Yisrael, 48 cities. So it's like this: the nature of those 48 cities, and the way the Leviim own it on some level and live in it is different between how they own 47 of those cities and the city of Hebron, which is the 48th. It's like this. If you take a look at the Rambam, I don't have it in front of me, but you take a look at the Rambam in Hilchos Shemitah V'Yovel, when the Rambam talks about the dividing up of Eretz Yisrael amongst the tribes and Shaiva Levy, where they lived, the way the Rambam describes it is as follows. There's a basic problem. The problem is, if there's a prohibition for the Leviim to inherit Eretz Yisrael, then how exactly do they have even 48 cities? Like, why is that not considered inheriting Eretz Yisrael? So the way the Rambam stipulates it is as follows. It's very simple. The Rambam says the way it has to go is like this: Eretz Yisrael has to be given to the other Shvatim. The other Shvatim then take from their properties and give a donation, so to speak, a gift to the tribe of Levi. And the tribe of Levi therefore always have to see their property as something that's given to them through the other tribes. If they begin to sort of relate to their property as if it's coming from them, from the Rabbanan Shalom, just like Reuven has his property and Shimon has his property, that's a prohibition, that's a violation of this law. They have to see themselves and their relationship to their property clearly, as in a clear way, that it's coming because it was given to them as a gift from the other tribes. Now, because of that the tribe of Levi in their cities, they have to view it in that way, that it's coming to them not because Hashem gave it to them, but because it's coming as a gift from the other tribes. Therefore, the way the Leviim have to relate to their cities is going to be constricted. It's going to be modeled after how it was given. That's the idea. So how were 47 of the 48 cities given to the tribe of Levi? So the Rambam says it was given to them as a gift from one tribe to another tribe. There's a tribe of Reuven, and there's a tribe of Levi. And the tribe of Reuven gave a number of its cities to the tribe of Levi, which means that technically speaking, the ownership that Levy has over those cities is not Mr. Levine and Mr. Levi. It's the tribe of Levy. Within the tribe of Levy, so practically speaking, Mr. Levine has to have somewhere to live, and Mr. Levi has to have somewhere to live, right? But the house that Mr. Levine lives in is not technically his house. He might have some rights to it in terms of living, but it's not really his house. His house is part of the general ownership of the tribe of Levi. Why is that? Because again, that's how it was given to them from the other tribe. It wasn't given to Mr. Goldstein didn't give Mr. Levine a house. The tribe of Yisachar gave the tribe of Levi designated cities. And so these cities, even when they're received by the tribe of Levi, have to be received in that way, as they were given, to make sure that it's not, they don't see it as if it was given to them, as if they own it on their own, just like every other Shevet owns their territory on their own. They have to always perceive it in the way it was given to them. So 47 out of the 48 cities was given to the tribe of Levi in this way of tribe to tribe, which means that when you boil it down, when you get to the bolts of it, any particular Levi that's living in any one of those 47 cities doesn't really have ownership over his house, except for the city of Hebron. Because the city of Hebron first was in the jurisdiction of Yehuda, but then an individual person, Kalev, owns that city of Hebron, and then as an individual he gives it over to Levi. Because of that, when Hebron is given over from Kalev to the tribe of Levi, it's not a gift from Shevet to Shevet. It's a gift from what? From individual to individuals. So now you have something that's unique. That if you have Levium living in any one of the other 47 cities, the bond, the ownership, the real connection that those Levium have to that particular city is not as strong as the connection that the Levium would have who live in the city of Hebron. Because those Levium that live in the city of Hebron, they have ownership over that place, not just on the general level, Shevet. They have possession over it, even b'derech prat, even as an individual member of the tribe of Levi. Why? Because the city of Hebron was not just given to them as a gift from the tribe of Yehuda. It was given to them from Yehuda as it traveled from Yehuda to Kalev. And so the city of Hebron is a unique city that the Levium have possession over, similar to how every other tribe has possession over their properties as well. Not only is it the possession of the tribe, but it's possession of the individual members, the individual people, citizens living in that city. Not so with the other 47, right? The other 47, that was given straight from tribe to tribe, and it never went in that place from tribe to individual to Levi. So it always retains that quality of only being owned from the Shevet perspective, but the ownership doesn't solidify and doesn't sort of take hold on an individual level. This is what we find. So in other words, what comes out of this is that there's a very unique bond between the tribe of Levi and Hebron. Levi and Hebron. Now the truth is, if you think about it, even the words, it makes sense. What does the word Hebron mean? What's the root of the word Hebron? Chibur, to be connected. What's the root of the word Levi? What does Levaya mean? Levaya also means connection. That's what we call it a Levaya, right? It's because by having a Levaya, when a person passes away, Lo, that's showing a bond between you and the person that was nifter. That's what the word Levi means. When Leah named him Levi, she said, now that I have 3 children, Hapam Yilava Ishi Elai, now my husband will become bound to me. We have 3 children now. And so the word Levi means connection, Hebron means connection. So this is a unique quality that Hebron and Levium are bound to each other. But we think about it, this is very, very strange. Why? That's in halacha. But now let's investigate a little bit of the pnimius. What is the nature of Shevet Levi? If you had to compare Levi to the other Shvatim, how will you define them? So there's a well-known Rambam at the end of Shemitah V'Yovel, and the Rambam talks about why is it that the tribe of Levi were not given a portion of Eretz Yisrael like the other tribes. Why? So he says, the way the Rambam describes it in poetic terms, is that the Rambam says is that the definition of the tribe of Levi is that they are Chel Hashem. They are the soul to the Jewish people's body. These are people that their avodah in life is to be above physical things. That's what their avodah is. Their avodah is to be the soul, to be Chelek Hashem, to be the army of Hashem, to be designated to completely spiritual. Their job is Losharis, is to serve in the Beis HaMikdash. Therefore, they're above these things. So if you had to, when you sort of look at the Jewish people on a big picture, you pull the camera back, The Levy, compared to the other tribes, is like a soul to a body. The other tribes are more physical, they're more connected to that which is physical. Levy is b'chlal, complete neshama. Okay, now let's think of the city of Hebron. If Levy is uniquely connected to Hebron, and Levy means soul, Levy means completely disconnected from physical life, then you would think that Hebron should fit that, right? But what's ironic is that Hebron is the exact opposite. Hebron is a place that's designated for what? For the burial of the Jewish body. Avram, the Avos, the Imais, they're buried in Hebron. Chazal even say such a thing, that this is not a coincidence. The city of Hebron is a place, Chazal describe it as miyuchad, as dedicated, as designated for a kvarim, for a place for the Jewish body to rest. Now this is very ironic. If Levy is the most spiritual, the most disconnected, the most above, they're the chelik of Hashem, and of all the cities in Eretz Yisrael, Hebron is the one city that's completely connected to the Jewish body. So you would think of all Shidduchim, Levy and Hebron should be the opposite from each other. But ironically, we say not like that, right? That of all the cities that the Levium have connection with, Hebron is the one city that the mamish have ownership on, even on the most detailed level. The mamish, Mr. Levine owns his house only in Hebron, as opposed to Mr. Levi in another city doesn't own his house. So what's pshat over here? What this tells us is a very important principle, which is a Jewish body is not a Jewish body. A Jewish body is not a body. You know, it's well known. The Chassam Sofer used to say this, and it's not necessarily halacha l'maisa. The Chassam Sofer used to say that if you had a medication that was only tested, to be the halacha is, for example, in order to, let's say a person is sick, life-threatening illness. So obviously, you do what you have to do for your Mechal Shabbos. But the halach is, that's only true for a procedure that, medically speaking, is considered to be something that it might not for sure work, but at least it's medically accepted. If this is something that just like this guy decides on his own, even this might do it. That's not necessarily good enough to be Mechal Shabbos. Sadach Sam Sofer, if you have medication that was only tested amongst non-Jews, it's not good enough. It's not good enough to be Mechal Shabbos for a Yid. Now, we don't hold like that, but Chassam Sofer said, why? He said, because the body of a Yid is a different body. It's a different body. So you can say, why? Because we eat kosher food, so you are what you eat, so you have different foods, but it's much deeper than that. What is the nature, the very idea of physical life? Chazal say that when Avram Avinu buried Sarai Menu, when he was burying her, he was having with the intention to be mechazik the emunah within all of Klal Yisrael of Tchias HaMesim, the resurrection of the dead. Why is it so important for a person to believe in Tchias HaMesim? Think about this for a second. Like, why is it one of the 13 principles of faith? Like, I get it that it's important to believe that God will pay us back for our mitzvahs, because to believe in reward and punishment is important, because if you don't believe in that, then it's hard to be motivated. I get it. But what's the difference how He'll reward us? Let's say you don't believe in Tchias HaMesim, but you believe in another type of reward. So, okay, you believe in reward, but why is it important to believe in that type of reward? You know why? Because Tchias HaMesim is not just about believing in reward and punishment. Tchias HaMesim is believing that a Jew is deeper than just something physical. And the reason why Tchias HaMesim will take place is because the body of a Jew, although it might seem externally as something physical, something low, something disconnected from soul, the soul is spiritual, the soul is eternal, the soul is godly. The body is physical, the body is earthly, the body comes and goes. But the secret of Tchias HaMesim means is that just as the soul is something that is transcendent, the body of a Jew is also transcendent. It doesn't look like it. Okay, you don't have good eyes. We don't have good eyes. But the body of a Jew is something special. It's a schus, you had the fleishiks over here, right? So it's bashert, like the chickens that, or ma'aseh nefesh, for us to eat. You know what type of schus it is for a chicken to be eaten by a Yid? Like you have two chickens, they're in the coop. And one's mazel is, it's going to go to, McDonald's, right? And the other chicken's mazel is going to come to Edison for Yidden to eat it at, by a shear. The chiluk in that mazel means that one chicken ends up just dying and becoming nothing. And the other chicken is converted into something that's forever, something that's eternal. That's a huge inyan. That's a huge schus. That's why it's brought down this farm when you go to the grocery store. It sounds like a crazy thing, but when you go to the grocery store, you know what type of simcha it is for the particular apple to be picked out by you? as opposed to the person maybe behind you that's not Mizari Yisrael? By a Yid taking an apple and eating it, the apple is being turned into something that's forever. Not so when it comes to something that's eaten not Mizari Yisrael. That's huge chiluk. It's Davka, the seat of Hebron, which is a city that's completely connected to the physical body of the Jewish people. It's a place where the body of the Avos and the Emos are buried. It's Davka, that place that's intimately attached to the tribe of Levy. The tribe of Levy, which is transcendent, the tribe that's completely disconnected from physical life. Because what Levy, owning the city of Hebron in such a way, what Levy, that ownership is revealing to you, and it's telling us what a body is. Not to think of yourself as just a human being, happens to be Ivan Neshama. You're much bigger than that. Your body is different. You're the Gashmis of a Yid. That's why Chazal say that when Bilam was cursing us, or when he was trying to curse us, so when Bilam, when he put his eyes with that evil eye to the Jewish people, and eventually he said the blessing of Matovu Alecha Yaakov, right? He was talking about how amazing the Jewish home is. Chazal say that before that bracha came out of his mouth, you have to make sure I say this properly, it's neistic, but Chazal say that he saw a vision of the Rebbeinu Shloim making cheshbainis when a husband and wife is together. The Rebbeinu Shalom is making cheshbainis of which piece of genetic material is going to produce a neshama and which piece of genetic material won't produce a neshama. And Bilam said, how is it possible, such a thing, that Mishu Kaddish, that the Rebbeinu Shalom, who's so holy, Umesharsav Kadoshim, and his servants are holy, the Malachim and so on, Yasek B'davar Zeh, he should be involved with such a thing, to focus his attention on genetic material, to decide which piece of genetic material is going to produce a baby, which not. And Nismas Eina Shel Oser Rasha, Chazal say that his eyes became blind because of his complaint, that questioning why the Rebbeinu Shalom would get involved in such a thing. But it is a question. So what's the answer? The Rebbeinu Shalom, who's so holy, and his whole universe is holy, the Rebbeinu Shalom is living in a place that's above physical life, and that's what he's involved in? The answer is, what do you think that is? The Rebbeinu Shalom, that's ruchnius. It looks like God. It looks like no different than non-Jewish people. It's not the same. The tribe of Levi, they dafka own the city of Hebron. The Levi, which is the neshama, which is soul, which is completely above Gashmias, they mamish own the city of Hebron, which is a city that's all about the body. Because what that means is it's telling you that the body is not the body. You think you have a body, you don't have a body. You're kula. It's all ruchnias. That's what Chesed Mesa means. The body will come back to life because it never was a body. It's all ruchnias. It's all ruchnias. It's all something transcendent. That's the ikar avodah. When we go into Gashmis, we're engaged in things. So like right now, you're at work, right? You're making money to support a family. So how do you look at that? So you look at that. Listen, all human beings go to work to try to support their family. The only difference between what I'm trying to do as a Yid and what another person is doing as a guy is like, why do I want to have a family? So by Yid, we're thinking, okay, I want to have a family in order to serve Hashem. And the non-Jew wants to have a family because that's just, I don't know, that's what people do. But it's much deeper than that. The avodah, everything that you do in order to sustain your physical life is holy. By its very definition, it's holy. The first mitzvah that we're given is to have children, Puravu, right? And the Torah says, this is the most chashuv mitzvah of all. It's mamish, the biggest mitzvah. Think about it. That's the biggest mitzvah. What do you want to have children for? Just stam to have children? You want to say that the purpose of having children is in order that they should be able to grow up and to say Yesh Me'Rabba and to do mitzvahs. But then tefillin and Yesh Me'Rabba is the ikar. To have children, I should have children just in order to make sure that there's something that there's someone to take care of me when I get old. Now, you know why Puravu is the biggest thing? Because when you have a kid, as Hashem, you have a kid, it means that there's another Dalet Amos on planet Earth that's being taken up by that a physical Jewish person is taking up that space. That's Kedai. That's Kedai. That there should be a place on planet Earth that is being filled by a Jewish body. There's nothing holier than that. Holier than that. What's a Jewish body? What's the significance of a Jew unless he makes something of himself? No. The Jewish person himself, herself, just physically who they are, is transcendent. Transcendent. The Baal Tanya used to say that if you have 10 Jews together, Baal Tanya said, if you have 10 Jews together, they're not davening, they're not learning, they're just schmoozing. The Baal Tanya said, even a Malach in Shemai wouldn't have the audacity to go into that place. The chutzpah to go into a holy place like that of just 10 Jews schmoozing. That's what Baal Tanya said. So can you imagine if 10 Jews are learning, or 10 Jews are davening? Why is it that a Malach would be intimidated from just 10 Jews being in one place? So you know what that means, 10 Jews? It means you have a significant space that's being taken up by godliness. Godliness? We're not doing anything, we're just schmoozing. But you know what the Jewish body is? That's the chashivas of the city of Hebron. This is why Avram Avinu was Meiser Nefesh to buy the city of Hebron. Because the city of Hebron redefines everything. It redefines what a Jew is. It redefines what Yiddishkeit's about. Yiddishkeit's not about trying to find somewhere out there that's holy. Yiddishkeit's about discovering the Kedusha that you already have just by the very fact that you're alive and breathing as a Jew. That's a Yiddishkeit, you know. Kirvas Hashem, closeness to Hashem is not something that a Jew has to find. You already are. You already are. The avodah of Yiddishkeit is to try to bring that truth that you are already connected to God to the forefront of your consciousness, that you should live with such a mentality, with such a mindset. But not that you have to actually become close to Hashem. There's no such thing. You already are. It's the very fact that you're a Jew. Your body is holy. That's the chashivas of the city of Hebron. This is dafka why the city of Hebron is from going all the way back, even to Avram Avinu. Even back to Avram Avinu. It was always a city that the nations of the world tried to stop us from having. Because that's the defining factor. The nations of the world, they don't like us having Jewish neshamas either. But as long as you think of your body as being just a human being, okay, they're okay. But for a Jew to believe in the city of Hebron that the Jewish body is different, the Goyim can't be civil that. They can't be civil that. But that's our avodah. We chazik ourselves. Dafka Parshas Chayei to believe in this in you that every time you eat something, every time you just sitting and taking up space. I'll tell you something from the Rizal. The Rizal says, in Parshas Shmois, it says, Kasher Yanu Oisai, right? As the Mitzrayim pained us and they gave us tzaras, so Ken Yira v'Chen Yifra. It's right, it always backfired, right? Because the more they pained us, the more children we had, and like the frog, they kept on hitting and get more frogs. So the same thing with us. They kept on giving us tzaras, it ended up backfiring on them. The Rizal said, B'derech Drush, they took the pasuk out of its simple interpretation. The Rizal said that's something that the Yetzer Hara does. The Yetzer Hara tries to, you have to take this the right way, just listen carefully. He said, the Rizal said that sometimes the Yetzer Hara tries to get a Jew to become low, to go off the derech. How are you going to get a Jew to not learn, not daven? You can't tell him straight, don't learn, don't daven. You're not going to listen to that. So what the Yetzer Hara does is he gets a Jew to become fat, to eat unhealthy food, to eat food that's too much, and then when you're fat and you're big, but you're the end of it. So the Yetzer Hara gets a person to overeat and to feel lethargic and lazy, and then slowly but surely he can then convince you to oversleep. But the Rizal said, but really it ultimately backfires. Why? Because with all the extra food that you're eating, and you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, there's more space on planet Earth that's being taken up by Nishmas Yisrael. So even though in the short term, right? So that's what the Rizal said such a thing. So even though in the short term, it's not good because you're getting lazier and lethargic. But ultimately, it means there's more space on planet Earth that's being taken up by Yidden. So ultimately, it's good.
Right off those 2 burgers.
That's right, exactly. See? It's all avodah. Exactly. That's why when the women say, or whatever, is people make the mistake, like on Shabbos, you don't gain weight. No, it's not true. You gain weight on Shabbos, but it's holy weight. You know what I'm saying? It's holy weight. No, Hashem should help us to remember who we are, both in neshama and in guf, and be zeichet to serve Hashem in such a way, to know who you are already, and every time, and that's the motivation of Yiddishkeit, to live up to the standard that you know you should be living in because of who you are, to live authentic. Okay, be zeichet to it.